Okay, YouTubers, this is Joe from ArtAlienTV, and today we're looking at a new Gigapan that I put together, and I did this about a week ago actually. This is Sol 1081 from the Curiosity rover, Mars Science Laboratory, and there's loads of things to look at here. I'm not going to go through all this stuff in great detail. What I've done is I've put the main finds on here for you to look at with these enlarged clips, so you can go through these yourself, and each of these will link to a video or another image or a similar thing, okay? But I'm just going to briefly show you what's here that is new, and then we can go over some of this other stuff after, because I have covered some of this stuff before, and I don't want to take too long with this video, okay? But the new find is just here in the corner. Now, I think this is a turtle, not a tortoise, but I could be wrong. Generally, let's go in close actually. Let's go in a bit closer. There he is. You can see the shell, and you can see the head there. Unfortunately, the legs can't be seen because they've got sand over them. So obviously this is dead, and probably been dead for quite some time, and it's mummified in the natural preservatives in the sand and soil, okay? As many of the other things I've shown have been as well. Now, it's not that clear because this is a raw image. So what I've done for you here is I've done some clips of all these things. So I'm going to show you in better detail in my graphics thing here, and I can zoom right in for you and show you what we're looking at. Now basically this thing is cool, and it's quite a good example, I would say. It's one of the best examples found so far, but it's not the only example. At least 2 or 3 I think I found before, and other people have found things that look like turtles and tortoises as well in Gale Crater. So there were different types there. At least, I would say, at least 2 different types have been found so far, and possibly more, okay? But this one is not very big. I think if we look on the Gigapan, we can sort of work out how big it is. We got the rover parts here. You can use that as a sort of reference, the rover. And I think that this is probably about 5 inches. It could be 6, it could be 4, I don't know exactly, but it's around that sort of size from here to here. The shell is quite large, but it's got a very large head with what looks like a flattened face. It's really quite strange, and when I show you it up close, you'll see what I mean. You've got this really large head here. Hang on, let's do that again. This really large head coming right round here. And we have what seems to be an eye here, and another eye there, and what seems to be a very large kind of mouth here. It's really strange, and it's not like anything we have on Earth, and that's no surprise. But you've even got, if you look carefully, you've even got the shell coming around here like this, which is partially buried here. This may be a leg or a flipper or something sticking out. And it comes right round like that. We got some sort of slightly pointed bits on top, and we've got a pattern to it like you would expect to see on a turtle or a tortoise, with these parts to the actual shell like this. Okay, now I've got some images of some of these up in my browser here. I'm just going to show you a couple of those in a minute. They tend to have these patterns on them, and there's many different types on Earth. There's leatherbacks, there's all different types. Some have got parts to the shell which are ridges, like long ridges, like this one here. And some of them have got more sort of tortoise-like patterns with sections, like polygonal kind of sections to it. Plates, I should call them, I suppose. This is a typical one that you would see. You can see these parts here on the shell. Well, that's what we've got. Now, I think what I'll do is I'll really darken this up for you, because this is very bright. I brightened it right up, and in fact, if I go really dark on this, we should be able to see those patterns show up a bit more. Let's go really dark. Let's keep going really dark. And you can start to see on the shell here, we've got those parts, okay? You can actually see those parts here, like you would see on a turtle or tortoise on the shell, on the carapace. Now I have found others. I'll very briefly show, I'm not going to show you the videos, I'm just going to show you when I found them and where I found them. There was this one. This is a tortoise, not a turtle. In other words, this is a land-based one rather than a water-based one or aquatic one, whatever you want to call it. This is one of my very first finds, and it dates right back to 2013. But this isn't the first version of this video that I did. This is the second or third. I actually found this in March, April 2013. But I didn't really do a very good job of the video until later that year. But I did put one up earlier than this, in April, which also shows the dead lizard or iguana, I think it was called. And here's one stood up. But this is more of a tortoise. Generally, tortoises have got a much more upright and shell that's kind of sticks up more, whereas turtles have a flatter, more hydrodynamic shell. In other words, it's more streamlined, generally, okay? Tortoises have quite often got a much more helmet kind of shaped shell, which kind of sticks up more for some reason. I don't know why that is. But this one, you can actually see the neck and the head sticking out and the eye there. You got the legs around the side here. This one today, I think, is a lot clearer because we have a good angle on it. We're looking down on it from the rover, and we can see the head clearly, and we can see some sort of facial detail here, and the head itself is very large in proportion to the shell. I would imagine that there would be flippers or feet here. This may be one, but this is probably just a rock here. The flipper would probably come round like that, I would imagine. There'd be another one this side and another one hidden behind there. But this, to me, I think is pretty unmistakable and is one of the best examples so far of this particular type of creature. So there was that. That was pretty cool. There's the grave, and there's the foot of the grave here. Okay, this is the grave marker with the skull on it, okay? And then we have, over here, we have this weird thing. I'll show you that in a minute. This is spooky, right? And then we have this structure here with a head at one end, which looks like probably, this was some kind of tomb or grave that's broken. I'll show you that as well. But a lot of these things you can see actually here on the actual Gigapan itself anyway. And we got a lot of these things here. There's that head with the strange eyes, which are really spooky. That is just so weird. There's that structure with the head at one end, and these are stone blocks that are broken. I think this was a tomb and would have come up to here, like a little mausoleum type tomb thing. And there's some weird stuff here going on, really weird carved stuff. And art, it's a type of art, funerary art, okay? It's quite gloomy and it's quite morose, but that's what funerary art is, okay? We have plenty of examples of that on Earth. I'm not going to go into all that now. So basically, there's loads of stuff here. Here's that thing that looks a bit like an ape, just here, and you can see its teeth there. Let me zoom in a bit. You've got an eye here, and we got a row of teeth there, right? You can actually see the jagged teeth, like that. We got nostrils here, and we got an eye here. This is the snout coming down, chin down here, and it kind of comes up like this. Okay, that's weird. I don't know what species that is, but it looks like a type of ape, but I could be wrong. We got this thing, which is that weird hexagonal rock with some weird details on it. Now, this is either a grave marker or something like that. Some sort of funerary art or something, who knows. But we basically got this really interesting shape to it here. And we have what look like eyes carved into it. This looks like some sort of face that's carved onto it here. But it's very weird and stylized, and we got these parts to it up here. I don't really understand what that is, to be honest. It's very strange. And interesting nonetheless. Okay, and then we got this thing over here. Now this was weird. Now this is that weird spooky thing that this actually looks a bit like a person carved onto a rock here, but this is not very clear. But you can see what looks like an arm here, okay, coming down, with a hand or holding something there. And then we've got a head here with a nose and an eye looking this way, right? Looking over here. It's just really weird. I really don't know what to make of this. This is possibly a grave marker or burial figurine representing someone or something. I'm not really sure, but it's very, very strange, and it's one of the weirdest things I've seen recently. But we got a head there. There's the neck. There's the jaw. There's a mouth. There's a nose. There's an eye, and the head comes around, joins to the neck here, and we got an arm coming down, like I said before, here, holding something here, and I think there's another arm coming round this side, like this, like that, holding onto something, sat in a weird sort of on a throne or chair. But this is eroded. This has got striations coming across it there, and erosion pits and stuff in it, and troughs. So that was weird. That's like a figurine. That could be a burial figurine, as there are graves in the area, like we've got here. Here's the grave, and this has got the skull on it here. You can actually see the skull quite clearly. I'm not going to draw around it. That was really cool. From Thomas Smosny, I think, actually this year, that was found. 3rd of February, 2020. Then we have this weird other ape thing, which is actually on the Gigapan, but I'm just going to show you it and brighten it up a bit for you because that was too dark on there. Let's go a bit brighter. There we are. You can actually see the eye here. Nostril. A beak-like snout almost coming round. Mouth. Other eye, you can just see the edge of it there. There's the eye. And then the head comes up in a smooth kind of line like that. And then we got this thing on top. Now, this may be carved. And there is what I think is a temple to Hanuman, not far from here, who is the Hindu monkey god. Okay, because there's loads of like carved apes around, including orangutan types and gorilla types and chimpanzee types and gibbon types and all different types of ape. In fact, I've got about 30 different types of ape, or at least 30 apes that I found so far. Some are the same type and some aren't. So there's about 5 or 6 species of ape I've found so far. Some are very small, some are quite large like this. And there's even things that look a bit like gorillas, or very similar to gorillas as well. You got an ear. The ear is very blurred out. Now the question is this a carving? I think it is. But there's not really enough fine detail in the image to actually say one way or the other. But the weird thing is, the eye detail, when you look at it, it's really, let me go in close, it's really quite good. If you squint a little bit, you look at the eye detail there. And that's in the raw image, okay? That is cool. Now, here's the thing that's right over to the far right, which is some kind of weird creature. Maybe a bird, maybe another turtle or reptile type thing with an eye here, closed. Another one here, but we can only see the edge of it, and then a beak coming right down here. Okay, like this. Unfortunately, we got a pebble right in front of it, which is obscuring the bottom part here. But you can see that pretty clearly, that there's a sort of beak structure here with an eye. Just there, right? Look at that. That is weird. Now, whether that's some kind of reptile like a turtle or it's some kind of bird, I'm not really sure. Possibly some type of dinosaur, I don't know. But it's very strange. But that's what, on the very far right, right by the rover, okay, on the Gigapan. And then there's those 2 little head things which are really too small to actually tell what they are. These are probably burial figurines or something. They're near the middle, but quite near the back. We've got a pointed head here and another one here, but these are a bit ambiguous because they're too small and a bit out of visual range, so I'm not going to go on about them too much. So we've got a whole plethora of things here, including animals, burial markers and gravestones, carvings, literally gravestones are carved on anyway, so they're a type of architecture really. They're not buildings as such, but they are, you could classify them as a type of architecture, especially when you have things like mausoleums and tombs on the image like we have here. Even though this is broken down, this one, we've got a head, a large head at one end, and you can clearly see different stone blocks here that are broken away. So that is actually architecture, okay? Even though it's quite low level architecture, it is architecture. So that proves at least something about the area, that there were a lot of tombs here. Now some of these here are from other parts of Mars, near here. These are all from Gale Crater. These other structures that look like graves and tombs as well. I've just put those in for comparison, okay? But it's interesting that we have a dead animal right in between all these things. So maybe they were coming up to this area to lay eggs in the ground along the edge of this ridge here. This looks like a good place that if you were a turtle, you would come up the beach, because there was a lake here. And the water may have come right up to over here somewhere, right? This area here would all be part of the lake. This is the lake bed over here, right? So the turtle would have come up here, walked up here, perhaps to lay eggs along this, below this ridge here in the sand. And then they would hatch out a month later or so, however long that is, I'm not sure. And then they would walk back down the beach here, back to the lake, okay? I mean, that's what they do on Earth, so I'd assume they would do something similar on Mars, where they would come inland and then lay a bunch of eggs, and then you get a load of little baby turtles crawling back into the lake. It's a saltwater lake, so it'd be very similar to a small ocean. It's a very large crater, and the lake would have, at some period in the past, would have been very large indeed. 50, 60 miles across, very big indeed. So it's not unlike an ocean in itself, really. It could have crawled up from here, on the right, along here, this little valley area, to this ridge line, to lay eggs, and unfortunately didn't make it. This is one of the weirdest things I've seen in a while, with this guy sat on a throne or something with an arm. I'm not sure if anyone's found this before. I don't remember seeing it anywhere, but this is just really, really strange. And there's not a great deal of detail here, but I think that's interesting anyway. There seems to be an eye just there. Very weird, okay? So a lot of these things, we shouldn't expect to understand them immediately, especially when they've been probably sat here for thousands of years. I do think some of them are very, very old indeed, but they're not very eroded. And they may have been covered in sand for a million years, for all we know, a lot of these things. And they're very, very strange, some of them. This one looks similar to some of the other apes I've shown. This is very weird. I don't know what this is, whether it's a turtle, or a bird, or a dinosaur. It could be any of those things. It's very, very strange, and it's got this lovely smooth kind of shape to it. The head's a bit of an odd shape, but this could be eroded. This to me looks like it was an actual specimen that was calcified in the minerals and has literally turned to stone over millennia. This was probably covered in sand for a long time as well. So the eye detail on this was really interesting. The sort of squinty shut eye there. We have the turtle. Let's go really dark again with that and show that shell detail up, because that is a turtle. And you can see those markings on the shell like you would have on an Earth variety. Thanks for watching, everybody. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Do check out the links in the description below. It will take you to the Gigapan, which will also link to this video, and lots of other videos that are linked to these things on the page. Okay, so there's plenty to look at here. So we've got animals, we've got grave markers, we've got tombs, we've got carved heads, We've got all sorts of interesting things in one area, and you don't need to be David Attenborough to spot a turtle when you see it, or recognise a turtle when you see it, okay? You do not need to be a PhD biologist or zoologist to recognise it, because it's pretty obvious what it is. Okay, so thanks for watching. I will see you soon.